I work on research at the Engine Room, and one of the things we're sort of often looking at is how tech projects involving open data, not always, are actually designed and implemented. And we hear kind of a lot of different stories, a lot of, you go to a lot of events, you hear different accounts. But one of the things that keeps coming up is there's not really that much evidence beyond the individual case studies. They're very useful, but beyond that, what do we know? So, hang on. There's a big project called Making Your Voices Count, which is working in lots of different countries, Bangladesh, Ghana, Nigeria, over a period of about 4 years. And they do a lot of kind of supporting actual projects that are doing stuff, but they also do research. And they've produced about 60 research reports. We know that no one has time to read 60 research reports, but luckily for you, I am here to try and summarize it. So basically, where are we at now? A lot of tech projects kind of have a secret, and it's that they know they're failing. And when we're looking at reports from like upwards of 30 different organizations, we're asking them the same questions, we're going through the same sets of processes, and the general consensus is we didn't do what we wanted it to do. That's the level of impact assessment we're doing. Did it do what you hoped? And people are saying no. So what's the initial problem? It's that people saying, well, we were too optimistic about what we thought we could actually achieve. There were, for example, in this project we did in South Africa and Kenya, about 75% of the organizations that we asked about how they chose a tool said we would not choose that tool again. We weren't happy with what we chose, and we wouldn't do the same again. So why is this happening, basically? It seems to be something to do with the way that we think about what's realistic to expect. And there is evidence on this. So projects that start with already having a connection with the people they're trying to get data from. So, thinking about Harsh as one where you've already got the connection from people getting data about public toilets. That's one example. What often happens in these projects, according to them, is they're trying to build a relationship with the community at the same time as also collecting the data and building technology. That's hard. That's really, really hard. Second one is when governments actually want to do something with the data, when they've asked for the data, then making that open. There's quite a lot of evidence to suggest that that is useful. If they haven't already said they're going to use it, and you're not sure if they are, it's a harder ask, basically. So there's more on this, but basically, that's the kind of the main point there. The second thing is that people are trying to build things themselves from scratch in a lot of cases. And again, thinking about the research that we looked at, people there was a big disconnect between what they thought the tool would do and what it actually did. And what people said was, we didn't actually look around to see if there was something already available that could do this, maybe something that people are already using, and so on. So there are sort of processes you can go through to look at this, and it also linked to people not necessarily talking to other similar projects that have done the same thing. So this also kind of goes to events like this, talking to people who are actually working on similar types of projects, finding out what's already been done internationally, regionally, or whatever, and making better links with developers, tech people, designers, all that kind of stuff. So another problem was that in a lot of these projects, people just weren't doing user research, or they were doing very limited user research. So we kind of came up with 3 types of user research. One is about the problem you're actually trying to solve. One is about the tech that you could use. And the third one is the people who are actually going to use it. It's very rare that people did all 3. I think, in the research we were looking at, 1 or 2 did all 3, and they were the ones who were happy with what they were doing. And that's possibly because that's what people have expertise in, so they do that one thing. So the end result is a lot of the tools that actually get developed, this is essentially what happens. And yeah, basically, this kind of links to a second and a third problem, which is around just a lack of interest and uptake in what the data portal or the tool or whatever that's actually been developed. So people were saying, yeah, the thing we built was great. I mean, no one's using it really, but don't tell anyone. We were interviewing people anonymously, so it was often a better way to do it. And this was again, using tools, trying to create new communities from scratch without having actually thought about what people are already using, but also in relation to governments and sort of thinking about how willing the governments or different institutions were to form alliances with people. So. There's no real reason for this one. It was just combining different groups of people, bringing stuff together. So all in all, we sort of the final thing we were sort of finding was that people aren't necessarily connecting with the kind of tech projects that they're hoping to work with. So they are kind of when they're trying to this is the wrong one. What I was trying to say was, when something goes wrong in a lot of the projects that people were looking at, it was game over, basically. There wasn't room to adapt, and things came crashing down. And that was for a number of reasons. Partially that was because people would discover, in the last few minutes, there was of the project there, there's a stakeholder or someone that we should have contacted, but we didn't know they were important. So partly it was that sort of lack of initial knowledge, and partly it was the fact that the way that projects are funded and designed meant that it was very difficult to actually build in some of these ways of adapting to change in the middle of a project. What often happened was at the very end, people would say, oh yeah, we know now. Now in the next project, we might do something differently. But the question is, how can you do that within a project to make that kind of change? So those are the five points. And that's about it.